She remembered my coffee before I did. 2 sugars, no lid, she said, sliding it across the counter like it was muscle memory. I didn't even realize I'd started coming here that often. Same time, same corner, same cup. The shop wasn't much. A few mismatched chairs, a quiet hum from the espresso machine, and a clock that always ran 5 minutes slow. But I liked that about it. It made the mornings stretch a little longer. Her name was Lena, though I didn't learn that until the 3rd week. I'd just known her as her sister's shift partner, the one my girlfriend always complained about. Too serious, too distant, too much of everything. Funny how that made me pay attention to her more. She wasn't the kind of woman who filled space. She settled into it. The kind who didn't talk unless she meant to, who carried silence like a second language. Mid-40s, maybe older. Lines near her eyes that looked like they'd been earned, not avoided. "Rough morning?" she asked one day, eyes flicking toward my half-buttoned collar. "Something like that," I said. She smiled. "Not the big kind, just a corner lift." "You always say that." And maybe I did. I'd sit by the window and pretend to scroll my phone. But mostly I'd watch her in the reflection, how she moved behind the counter, how she tucked stray hair behind her ear when she thought no one was watching. There wasn't any real reason to notice. But she had this calm, like she wasn't trying to impress anyone. Some mornings, my girlfriend would text while I sat there. "Are you up yet? You forgot to call me last night." I'd type out replies, stare at them, then delete before sending. I didn't even know why. Maybe because nothing I said lately seemed to land right. Lena once noticed me doing that. "You do that a lot," she said. "Type, then backspace." I blinked. "You were watching?" "I noticed things," she said, and her eyes held mine a second too long. That's how it started, not with words, but pauses. A few days later, she handed me my coffee with a napkin folded neatly underneath. "For the condensation," she said. But I caught the faint scent of her perfume on it. Soft, clean, like soap and something floral. I kept that napkin in my car for a week. When she laughed, really laughed, it sounded like she'd forgotten how for a while. She didn't talk much about her sister, and I didn't ask. But once, when she mentioned, "Your girlfriend's been busy lately," there was a tone there. Not jealousy exactly, more like quiet curiosity. I didn't know how to answer, so I didn't. Instead, I looked at her hands, the way she held the cup between them, fingers wrapped around the warmth, thumb tracing the rim. She caught me looking and didn't move, just held my gaze like she was waiting to see if I'd look away first. I didn't. By the time the shop lights dimmed and the last customer left, it felt like the world outside had gone still. She wiped down the counter, humming something low. "You should get going," she said, voice softer now. "Yeah," I said, but I didn't stand right away. She leaned on the counter, eyes flicking toward me, then away. "Tell her I said hi." Something about the way she said her made my chest tighten. When I finally walked out, the bell above the door gave that small, metallic sound, sharp and final. But before I reached my car, my phone buzzed. A message. From Lena. It just said, "You left your napkin." Or maybe I left it with you. I stared at the screen until the light dimmed, thumb hovering, heart caught somewhere between reply and delete. And for the first time, I didn't know which one I wanted more. The next time I saw Lena, she wasn't behind the counter. She was sitting by the window, nursing a cup of tea. Civilian clothes, hair down, glasses on. For a second, I didn't recognize her. Or maybe I just wasn't used to seeing her anywhere that wasn't framed by the smell of coffee and steam. She looked up when I walked in. "Didn't think you'd come today." "I wasn't planning to," I said. Then, quieter, "But I did." That earned a small smile, the kind that says you shouldn't have, but I'm glad you did. I ordered nothing, just sat across from her, watching the rain trail down the glass. It was the kind of quiet that fills rather than empties a room. She held her cup in both hands, and for a while, we said nothing. "You ever regret something before it even happens?" she asked suddenly. I thought about that for a second too long. "Pretty sure I'm doing that right now." She laughed, low and genuine. "You always answer like that, half serious, half scared. Maybe because I don't know which one I am." Her eyes softened, then dropped to her tea. I was married once. Long time ago. Didn't work out. He left when I was 34. It wasn't a confession, just a fact, said the way someone mentions the weather. But it landed somewhere deep. I didn't know what to say, so I folded the edge of my napkin until it tore. She kept talking, voice slow, like she hadn't done this in a while. Your girlfriend, she reminds me of how I used to be. Always running late. Always sure she'd have more time. I wanted to tell her she was wrong, that they were nothing alike, but my throat didn't cooperate. Later, when she stood to leave, her umbrella refused to open. Without thinking, I took it from her, pressed the button, and it snapped wide open, water shaking loose in small bursts. Guess you're good at fixing things, she said. Not everything. I murmured, eyes meeting hers for half a heartbeat too long. She blinked, once slow, and then smiled faintly. Careful with that kind of talk. I wasn't talking, I said. That silence stretched. Not uncomfortable, just charged. The kind that makes you aware of everything. The sound of rain, her breath, the way her hand brushed mine when she took the umbrella back. As she stepped out into the drizzle, she turned. You don't owe anyone explanations for the moments that make you feel alive. I didn't know what she meant until hours later, lying in bed beside my girlfriend, listening to her scroll through her phone. I kept replaying the umbrella, the warmth of Lena's fingers grazing my knuckles. I don't know why that moment stayed with me. Maybe because it felt like someone finally saw me that I started avoiding the coffee shop for a few days. Or maybe I just wanted to see if I could. The first morning without it felt empty. No soft hum of the grinder, no quiet glances over a cup. Just the clatter of my own kitchen, too bright, too quiet, too honest. By the third day, I was back. Lena didn't look surprised when she saw me. Just tilted her head slightly, a knowing curve to her mouth. Thought you quit on me, she said. Guess I'm bad at quitting, I replied. She handed me my coffee. This time, no napkin, no small talk. Just that faint smell of her hand cream, lavender and something citrusy. I took a sip and it was colder than usual, or maybe it was just me. A woman at the next table, a friend of my girlfriend's, noticed us. She waved, too cheerfully. Didn't know you came here, she said. You and Lena know each other? Lena smiled easily. He's a regular. Can't start his day without caffeine. I tried to mirror her calm, but my chest tightened. The friend laughed, said something about seeing me Friday, and left. For a second, the air between us went thin. She's the one your girlfriend always brings up, right? Lena asked, wiping the counter slowly. Yeah, and now she'll probably bring me up. Her tone was light, but her hand trembled slightly on the cloth. I noticed, and she noticed me noticing. I didn't mean, I know, she said quickly, setting the rag aside. Neither did I. We stayed quiet for a while after that. Just the steady sound of milk steaming, the faint hiss that filled the gaps where words should have gone. When the rush died down, she came around the counter and sat across from me. Her apron still on, hair messy, sleeves pushed up. Do you ever wonder, she said softly, if people come into your life at the wrong time? I nodded before thinking. All the time. She looked at me then, really looked. Like she wanted to say something and was fighting herself not to. I keep thinking this shouldn't matter, she whispered. But it does. My throat went dry. It matters to me too. The words hung there, fragile, dangerous. She reached for her thermos, but her hand brushed mine instead. Neither of us moved. A pulse, a shared breath, a silence that could have tipped either way. Then the door chimed. Her sister's voice, my girlfriend's, sharp, bright, oblivious. Hey, you two look serious. We both froze. Lena's hand slipped away. She stood, suddenly busy, suddenly fine. My girlfriend kissed my cheek, laughed about traffic, asked for a latte. I nodded, smiled, pretended nothing had shifted. But as I reached for my cup, I saw it. A small streak of steam still rising from Lena's untouched tea, curling up like a secret trying to disappear before anyone noticed. We never said what almost happened. We didn't have to. It was late. The kind of late where the city feels like it's holding its breath. Lena's shift had just ended, and I offered to walk her to her car. She didn't refuse, but she didn't look at me either. We walked side by side down the narrow street, the air cool and damp from a half-finished ring. Streetlights flickered in puddles. Our steps were just slightly out of sync. "You don't have to do this," she said finally. "I know." "Then why are you?" I didn't answer right away. Because I wanted to. Because I couldn't stop myself. Because I didn't know what else to do with the way she made silence feel like gravity. "I just needed to talk," I said. She gave a small, almost sad laugh. "That's dangerous." We reached her car, parked under a flickering streetlight. She leaned against the door, arms folded, face tilted toward the glow. There was something tired about her tonight. Not physically, but in the way she kept swallowing thoughts before they reached her mouth. "You were quiet all week," I said. "So were you. I thought you didn't want me around anymore." Her eyes flicked up. "Maybe I don't. Maybe that's the problem." The words landed somewhere deep, sharp and real. I didn't know whether to step closer or walk away. "I can't keep doing this," she whispered. "Pretending these small moments don't mean anything. They do mean something. That's what I'm afraid of." The silence after that felt alive, buzzing with everything unsaid. A car passed, headlights sweeping across her face, catching the faint shimmer in her eyes. "You're young," she said softly. "You should be learning how to love someone without complication." I shook my head. What if complication's the only way I feel something real? Lena exhaled, slow and shaky. "Don't say things like that." "Why not?" "Because I believe you when you do." She turned away, fumbling with her keys, but her hands trembled. I reached out before thinking, steadying her wrist. Her skin was cool, soft, familiar now. She didn't pull away. We stood like that, her hand half open, my fingers around her pulse. The rain started again, light and uncertain. "You know," she said, barely above a whisper, "your girlfriend came by today. She said you've been distant." I felt my stomach twist. "What did you tell her?" "That maybe you're looking for quiet in the wrong places." Was I? Her breath caught. A pause. A heartbeat too long. "I don't know," she said finally. "Maybe I was too." She looked up then, really looked. Eyes dark, unguarded, full of something that scared us both. I could have kissed her. I wanted to. But instead, she stepped back, just enough to break the spell. "Go home," she said softly, "before one of us forgets how to." And for the first time, I wasn't sure if she was asking me to, or hoping I wouldn't. Lena stopped coming to the shop. No warning. No message. Just absence. Clean and final, like she'd been erased from the room she used to fill without trying. The first morning I noticed, I brushed it off. Maybe a sick day. The second morning, I checked my phone more than I wanted to admit. By the end of the week, I started ordering from whoever stood behind the counter. No familiar smile. No soft correction when I said thanks too quickly. The coffee tasted the same, but it didn't feel the same. One evening, after too many silent mornings, I saw her again. Outside the pharmacy, holding a paper bag, her hair tied up in that same careless bun. She saw me before I could pretend I hadn't seen her. "Hey," I said, half breath, half question. She nodded once. "Hey." I tried for a smile. "You disappeared." "I took some time," she said. "Needed to sort things." It wasn't much of an explanation, but it was all she offered. We stood there under the flickering sign, people brushing past us with grocery bags and tired eyes. I didn't know what to do with my hands, so I stuffed them in my pockets. Finally, she looked at me, steady, unreadable. "There's something I didn't tell you," she said. My chest tightened. "Okay. I have a son," she said quietly. "He's 22. Studying abroad right now." I blinked, trying to piece that together. You never mentioned him." "I didn't want you to see me as a mother." The words hung there, fragile, shame-laced. She kept talking. "He's about your age. Same music, same jokes, same way of pretending you're fine when you're not." It landed like a small, deliberate wound, not meant to hurt, just to remind me where the line really was. "So, that's why you—" "No," she said quickly, shaking her head. "That's not why. But maybe that's why I had to stop. Her voice was soft, but something inside it trembled. Guilt or fear, I couldn't tell. We stood there for a while longer, saying nothing. A car honked somewhere far away. Someone dropped a bottle. The sound of glass cracking filled the pause between us. I didn't mean to make this harder, I said. She smiled faintly, tired, forgiving. You didn't. You just made it real. And then she turned, walking toward her car. Her steps were slow but certain. She didn't look back. That night, I drafted a message. You don't have to explain. Just tell me if you're okay. I watched the blinking cursor, waiting for the courage to send it. My thumb hovered, then pulled away. I didn't delete it. Didn't send it either. Just let it sit there, glowing softly in the dark, unfinished. I didn't feel heartbroken. I felt paused, like life forgot to finish the sentence. It was raining again, that same soft, indecisive kind of rain that never fully commits. I don't know why I ended up outside Lena's house. I told myself it was coincidence, that I'd just been driving. But the engine had cut itself off in front of her gate before I even realized I'd stopped. Her porch light was on. Warm. Familiar. I stood there for a minute, listening to the rain tick against the hood of my jacket, trying to decide whether I was here to talk or just to see. The door opened before I knocked. She stood there in a sweater, barefoot, holding a mug. Her expression shifted, surprise, then caution, then something softer. You're drenched, she said. Yeah. You shouldn't be here. I know. Neither of us moved. She stepped aside anyway. Come in. The living room smelled faintly of tea and rain-damp wood. A single lamp lit the space, throwing quiet shadows across the floor. I sat on the edge of the couch. She handed me a towel and sat across from me, knees tucked under her, hands around her mug. I didn't mean to disappear, she said. I just needed to breathe. I nodded, unsure what to do with my hands. I kept checking my phone. Like an idiot. You're not an idiot, she said softly. Just attached. The words sat between us like an admission. I can't keep pretending this doesn't matter, I said finally. My voice felt too small for the room. Even if it's wrong. Even if nothing comes of it. You got under my skin, Lena. She looked down, lips pressed together, eyes shining in the dim light. You think I don't feel that? She whispered. You think it's easy, watching you walk in every morning and trying not to. She stopped, swallowed. Trying not to feel 20 again. Her voice cracked on the last word, and something in me broke with it. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. Then why not just let it be what it is? Because it doesn't stay what it is, she said. It becomes something else. It asks for more. Silence again, except for the faint drip of rain from the gutters, the hum of the fridge in the next room. I looked at her. She looked back. For a second, everything stilled. All the noise, all the doubt, gone. Just the soft gravity between two people who'd run out of excuses. I reached out, slowly, stopping just short of her hand. So what do we do now? She smiled, small, weary kind. We do the hard thing. Which is, remember this, she said, and then keep walking. A pause. Then she reached over, laid her palm lightly over mine. Not pulling, not holding, just being there. Okay, she whispered. My throat ached. Okay. We stayed like that, still, silent, human. Long enough to understand that sometimes love doesn't have to happen to matter. 6 months passed before I saw her again. The coffee shop had changed. New faces, new tables. Even the clock on the wall finally worked. But at 8:47 a.m., out of habit, I still looked toward the counter. I don't know what I expected. Maybe nothing. Maybe her. And then, one ordinary Thursday, there she was. No apron this time, just a dark coat. Her hair shorter, her eyes softer. She spotted me first, and her smile came easy, quiet, unhurried, like she'd made peace with something. You still come here, she said. Some habits don't quit, I replied. She laughed lightly, the same low sound that used to undo me. I gestured to the seat across from mine, and after a moment's pause, she sat. We talked the way people do when too much time has passed to pick up where they left off, slowly, carefully, letting the silence fill the gaps instead of forcing them closed. She told me she was teaching part-time now, helping at a clinic in the evenings. Her son had come home, started working with her. He's calmer than I expected, she said. Maybe he grew up while I wasn't looking. I smiled. Guess we all did. She tilted her head. You seem different. Lighter. I stopped waiting for things to make sense, I said. It helped. She looked at me for a long time, like she was proud, but also a little sad. The barista brought over her order without asking. Still tea? I asked. She nodded. Still 2 sugars. You remember. Always. We sat quietly, just watching the steam rise and fade. Around us, life went on. Laughter, the hiss of milk, a phone buzzing on someone else's table. None of it mattered. Finally, she said, you know, I don't regret anything. Even the quiet parts. Me neither. Her hand brushed mine, lightly, almost accidental. But it didn't feel like it used to. There wasn't tension anymore. Just warmth. For a second, I imagined reaching across, taking her hand fully, but I didn't. I didn't need to. The closeness was enough. As we stood to leave, she hesitated by the door. You ever miss it? She asked. The coffee? Or us? She smiled. Both. Sometimes, I said, but not in a bad way. She nodded, eyes soft, voice low. Then we did something right. We stepped outside together. The morning light was gentle, the air just cool enough to make you notice. She walked toward her car, and I toward mine. Before we parted, she turned, raised her thermos, the same one she'd always carried, and smiled. Still keeping it warm, she said. And I laughed, quietly, still remembering. She waved once, small and final, and then drove off into the soft blur of day. I stood there a while, watching the space she'd left behind, feeling not the ache of loss but the calm of something finally understood. Love didn't leave. It just changed shape. And maybe that was enough. Did this story stay with you? What kind of quiet, real love stories do you want to hear next?